This is a video for Shall Not Be Infringed in response to his Get Home Tote. First things first. I remember, when was it, a while back? Maybe it was in the comments. And it was around the time of Urban Combat Survivor. And you mentioned that you don't make too many qualms about... Oh, yeah. It's early over here. You don't make too many qualms about that you'll end up dead in a ditch somewhere because you operate a piece of machinery on the other side of the country. What you got to do first, you got to get that out of your mind. First thing is a will to survive. So you got to figure out some sort of a way to get your tendencies towards melancholy out. But if I may, I'm going to take it basic with your tote. I don't like the idea of it being in a container. Even like when I picture tote, I'm picturing some sort of a Stairlight type container or a large toolbox. And that's good if you're right there, like you said. What was it, in Ohio? But the one place where you have to hike or backpack for a day, a 20-minute drive most likely will take you 2 days, I would say, because you're gonna do. I can do 15 miles in a day in my peak condition with a full load and not be dead. I don't not to. I'm just trying to be practical here. I'm not trying to be offensive, but pretty much you're going to be looking at 10 miles a day in order to conserve your calories and things like that. But what I need you to do, I need you to think of your body as a machine, a calorie burning machine. And in this particular scenario, you run out of one, calories, and two, the means to transport those calories, which in the way I envision it is the water, which transports electrolytes and things like that and flushes out crap that builds up and basically propels you along. Water is number two. Number one is going to be your medical condition. If you're physically hurt, bleeding out, infected, whatever, can't breathe air, those are going to be your priorities. Next is going to be water, because that's the next thing that you can't go along as long of a time without. Then we got to look at exposure here, because if it's cold and stuff like that, exposure could kill you faster than the lack of water can. So you need to insulate yourself from exposure. And then finally food, which you were saying an MRE, a single or as many MREs as you can carry, will, if you divide them up appropriately and calculate the calories, you can go a long way as an individual on an MRE, a real long way. Each component of an MRE in a pinch, like your actual foodstuffs components, could have enough in a conservation type, energy conservation type thing. Each component could keep you alive individually for a day. So you just sort of go from there. I don't know too much about the fish and stuff, or your plans for the rivers and everything. It's really cool, and it was really neat to hear you say that. And because that wouldn't enter my mind to like kick it Lewis and Clark style on the way home or whatever. So let's back it up. The first thing that I said was your medical condition and physical exposure. Antibiotic stuff is good. I know you said you always carried your aloe. That's good too. I would find a way, like if you're going to a certain area, maybe get a book in for that region on edible and medicinal plants, and just sort of read through it and get an idea about them. Because realistically, I'm thinking from Chicago. Is Chicago further or Ohio further? If you're in Ohio, it's going to take you realistically 2 months to get home, maybe longer. And then at that point, go back in time to what the pioneers carried when they were trekking. But anyway, we have the advantages of antibiotics, peroxides. Bandages are okay. If you can keep some nonstick pads, would be really good. But the longer you travel without medical attention on serious wounds, I think the more in trouble you'll be. And you wouldn't want to risk sewing something up and have it have dirt in it or something like that. So you just sort of got to do what you got to do. Have some witch hazel or some sort of sterile solution that you can use to flush things out that you're going to keep nice and clean. I agree with Haas about the wet wipes. Wet wipes over the tissues. I mean, the tissues are okay. The thing I don't like about tissues is they would tend to pill if you really had to use them hard. Um, a better advice would be some old school, uh, uh, the old school snot rag, actually made of like a thin cotton, and carry a few of those. I'm thinking, because I got to go with durability and reusable methods. definitely definitely get the real Swiss Army knife. And I don't know which one I would suggest. You wouldn't want to run out of tools. uh, the multi tool is fine. Um, the SOG multi tool is definitely fine. People that go like, oh, Leatherman, or oh, the Gerber. Yeah, if your balls are up against the wall, man, uh, I'm not, I'll grab one of them aluminum multi tools from Walmart. Shit, I've done it before. I didn't have my multi tool with me because we were backpacking. When I go backpacking, it's pretty lightweight affair, and I have this one guy I used to run with, and I don't know if either one, weight wasn't a concern to him or he just didn't give a fuck, but he would have everything. Hell, he carried a Walther PPK S while we were while we were backpacking. I was like, "Did you get a lighter gun?" But anyway, it's neither here nor there. But I grabbed his All Trade. That's what the brand was, All Trade multi tool, and I didn't give him shit about, oh, it's an All Trade, whatever. The pliers held up for what we needed, and, mm, and it worked out fine. So don't sweat that SOG shit too much. I don't know too much about all your battery powered gear. I think it's cool to have on hand if it continues to work. Um, I don't know how long you intend the batteries to last per se. Uh, the idea, I would think, as opposed to carrying so many spare batteries, would be the batteries that are in it, and then you use the device sparingly, because you'll drive yourself freaking gonzo. Um, switching out batteries, carrying your spares, and all that other crap. Um, but I got off track. We're still with our medical kit. So yeah, you want to keep your blood inside your body. You want to keep your wounds clean. And Haas was very observant on the um, anti-reaction antihistamines. Your Benadryls. Um, Benadryl could very much be a lifesaver. Even if you don't have any allergies now, you don't know what you're going to come across, and a spider bite or a bee sting or things like that. Uh, I can't emphasize Benadryl enough. Uh, also, consider laxatives and anti-diarrheal medication, both of which are going to be really critical because as you're traveling, and then if you change your diet to the MREs, like those survival pills that Haas was showing, and the MREs, they are not designed to keep you regular, and you're going to need. Your job isn't to go into combat for the next 24 hours. Your job is going to be to survive for a 60-day cross-country trek afoot and afloat. So I need your intestines to be working good and working correctly. So we're going to need to, you got to keep the business regular there. And then you don't want to eat the wrong thing or come across the wrong dose of water and shit yourself dehydrated. I'm positive that I'm leaving some stuff out on the medical, but there's a lot that you can do with that old school handkerchief and the sterilized solutions. Now, when I'm talking about bringing a big old bottle of alcohol and a big old bottle of peroxide, between all those two and some good soap, we're going to be able to clean and reuse these bandages and sterilize them as well, like a I don't know, like an old school diaper. Now, if I left something out and it ends up killing you, just know you were dead anyway. We all die, fucker. But nobody ever really lives. All right. Now we've transitioned into water. Your water needs to be clean. Now, the Catadine filters that you mentioned, they're good. They're very, very good. And when they go down to the sub-micron level, that's good too. You got to figure out a way to kind of leave some sort of nutrient in there because you're going to be diluting electrolytes otherwise. So I mean, if we absolutely filter the shit out of this water, bring it down to submicron cleanliness, and we make sure that there's no living pathogens in it anymore, but yet we also filter out the minerals and make water what water is while you are hydrating yourself, and your body would be okay with it. We need to be wary of not losing out on the minerals. That's why water purification tablets, I think, are a very good thing to have on hand. Ideally, I want to see you boiling the water and boil the water and actually not putting it through the filtration stuff. So if we're going to be boiling water, we need to figure out a means to do that. And when we boil the water, there's directions on it. You need to achieve a boil and then sustain a boil for a certain amount of time, depending on your location. The higher the altitude, the longer you need to sustain that boil. And what we're doing is we are trying to kill live pathogens. However, we are leaving the minerals and the nutrients that are still inside the water that are not live pathogens. You with me so far? And living off the Catadine submicron filtration systems for such a long time, you'll be fucking dead meat in over the course of this trek. Again, the Catadine's great if you're on a 1-week journey or a 2-week journey, but you need to survive for 60, if not 90 days. Okay. Any other questions you have about the water thing, go ahead and let me know, and I'll tell you what works for me. Stupid shit. Naturally, you're going to avoid stagnant pools unless you're absolutely dying. I want to see the water flowing. I want to see the water moving. I don't want it to be downstream of a city, because you don't want to get into any sorts of fecal matters or anything like that. Animal sign around the water source is a good thing, but bear in mind too, animals have a much greater immunity to water pathogens than we do. So you still, no matter what, I want you to be boiling that shit or pulling it through your filtration, or in a pinch, you're gonna put a couple drops of iodine, or just like show the fucking iodine to the bottle. The key is, because the journey is long, you can't stay on emergency provisions, and you can't stay on emergency methods of water filtration. You need to come up with a solid means of good water. Even if it's like a method of, you said you had the gallon and the whatever. I'm thinking what you do is you're actually you're going to cut that water with the water that you procure. So you have this water that for sure has nutrients. And oh man, the best case scenario would be like good tap water, and you're going to get the water that you get from the wild, and you're actually going to cut that water. So you would drink, say, a 50-50 mixture, making sure you get those electrolytes going on. Which brings me to things that you can add to the water that will help it. There's some Gatorade powders. Now, you're not going to want to live on that shit, again, because it would it would build up the uric acid in your body, and if you ended up getting the gout halfway home, you'll never make it, because it'll just hurt so fucking bad, and it'll only get worse because the food you're going to have to eat is going to be very, very high protein. And no matter how hard we try, your metabolism and your digestive system, which no offense no offense intended, doesn't appear to be the best as it stands. Now, mine isn't the best either. I'm nowhere near in a physical condition that would have my body at such a metabolic rate that I could withstand such a journey. By contrast, the Delaware Indians could, and I think the Plains Indians could do this as well. They could run for, I think it was something like 2 days straight without stopping. Like they had greater running endurance than a horse. And what we're kind of doing, we're looking back to how those men and those nomads tracked. And if there's a modern improvement, we're going to have to take part in it. Because what it is that you're doing here, you're doing a nomadic trek. That's not a hike. This isn't a fucking whatever. And gosh, this is gonna be a this is gonna be a pretty long video because we're still on water. If you do put away some of that powdered Gatorade stuff, again, I'm thinking sparingly. Make sure that it's resealable so that it can't be compromised with moisture. Maybe put some of them desiccant packs in it to keep it dry, to make sure that it saturates and does its thing in the water that you want it to. Wish there was some means to actually measure. This is gonna get a little bit more technical, but it's something that the military does. Some means to actually measure your physical blood sugar, and you just, your mind on your body and your body on your mind. And all's that tissue below your brain is, I want you to think about this. You're moving your mind and what is you home. And the essence of what is you is in here. And you keep it in here. And you keep Mike in here. And what happens to your body along the way, think of it as nothing more than an old Chevy Citation. You might lose a tire, but the driver and what makes you you and what makes your family and your friends care about you is what's up in there. And you're going to keep that together. So you're monitoring these things that are coming out of your body. You're making sure that you're having BMs. You're making sure that your urine is clear, and copious is the term. So not meaning that you necessarily urinate a lot, but when it is time to urinate, you're having a sustained, clear urination. And if you don't, you need to secure the means to make sure that goes on. If you go a day without a bowel movement, you need to secure the means to make sure that goes on. Ideally, I'd like to see that bowel movement happen at a predictable point in the day. And that will bring us to, exposure. You're surefire. Surefire, meaning the fire will light. Now you mentioned magnesium, the ferrocerium rod. I want to see you have I want you to have a sealed Bic lighter, another little thing of desiccant in there. Now you're going to want to change the desiccant out because desiccants collect moisture. You know, you make sure that that Bic lighter fucking functions. Ideally, brand new in the pack would be good, and then in another pack that has like a drying desiccant. That combined with, I think it's Light My Fire. They got these little squares, okay, and it's similar to what Haas has with the impregnated sawdust and shit like that. But oh man, what's that shit called? Light My Fire makes the kit. It's like all in one. It has a fire steel, the ferrocerium rod, and a couple of blocks of these surefires. And what you do, you trim off the surefire as needed into little shavings or little dust, and that gives you that sustained flame that you can get a good light on your tinder, and then in turn get good light on your kindling, so on and so forth. Now, tinder wise, I think there's a lot of shit that you can get in the woods. Something that'll be hard for you to find would be steel wool. I think steel wool is a very good idea to bring along, and it will have multiple uses as well. Steel wool can clean. It can light a fire with batteries. It can light a fire with a spark. It's really, really good stuff, and you can spread it out and make it really, really work for you. Now the problem with steel wool, of course, if it gets moisture in it, it can rust. So again, keeping it dry and using it sparingly is a very good thing. That could be that ties into water because that's the source of warmth as well as the means to be boiling your water when you're processing it. Now, the container, your water containers, I want to see them be man portable. I want to see them durable. I would like for them to also be the latest trend is actually metal, like stainless steel. The reason being is in this single container, in this single stainless steel container, you can transport the water, you can boil it, and things like that. I don't have a problem with your cup and your dish, and you know what works for you when you were motorcycle camping. All right, so I want you to have that steel container, Bic lighter, Surefire, fire steel, ferrocerium rod, steel wool, whatever else you can manage that really pulls out all your stops. But two, remember, this is a very long journey, so the means to procure that tinder in the wild, if you can preserve your store bought wares for as long as possible and use the stuff that's in the wild along the way, then shit, all the better. Whether it's something as simple as paper out of a trash can, because naturally we're gonna be dumpster diving on this trek, and okay, we're through kind of through water, so we got medical and water covered, and we'll let it sit there for now because it's a long video. It's going to take a long time to process, and everybody's going to be baffled that I've made such a long video. All right, man. Good luck in this venture. I kind of, being your friend, I wish there was some way I could say, like, if something happens, just stay alive, no matter what occurs, and I will find you. Man, I'm going to be busy with my own shit, so, anywho, we'll get through this, and, when I make my next part, I'll get back into, fucking, exposure. How we're going to keep from, shivering to death, and heck, we may even one day get to food. All right, y'all be good.